The Deception Unveiled. Commander Elena Torres stood in the observation deck of the Celestial Harmony Station, watching the twin suns of the Virgili system paint the void in shades of amber and gold. 5 years had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Union, 5 years of what everyone believed was unprecedented cooperation and friendship. Elena had been there from the beginning, serving as Earth's primary military liaison to the 15 alien civilizations that governed this vast corner of the galaxy. The station itself was a marvel of combined technology. Crystalline spires grown by the insectoid Vexri merge seamlessly with the living metal structures favored by the Kelthrin. Holographic gardens maintained by the energy-based Lumini provided spaces of beauty and contemplation. Human engineers had contributed their own innovations, including the quantum communication arrays that kept Earth connected to its ambassador so far from home. Elena had grown comfortable here. Perhaps too comfortable. She had made friends among the alien diplomats, learned their languages and customs, and truly believed that humanity had found its place among the stars. The Galactic Union presented itself as a peaceful coalition, dedicated to mutual prosperity and the advancement of all member species. Their charter spoke of equality, shared knowledge, and collective security. But lately, something had changed. It started small. A human research team studying exotic matter near the Kronos Nebula stopped responding to check-ins. Officials from the Union assured Elena it was likely just communication interference from the nebula's radiation. The team would surface when they completed their work. 3 weeks later, another science vessel went silent, this one studying ancient ruins on the moon of Helvetica Prime. Again, the Union offered reasonable explanations. Equipment failures. Natural phenomena. Nothing to worry about. Elena wanted to believe them. She had worked too hard building relationships with the Union members to let paranoia destroy what humanity had achieved. But her military training kept whispering warnings that she tried to ignore. The coincidences were mounting. Human colonies on the outer rim reported unusual survey activity by Union ships in their space. Diplomatic meetings that once included human representatives were suddenly being rescheduled or relocated without notice. Trade agreements favorable to Earth were being delayed in committee reviews that seemed to stretch indefinitely. Then came the message that changed everything. Elena was reviewing supply requisitions in her quarters when her personal terminal chimed with an incoming transmission. The encryption signature made her heart skip. It was a private channel, one that bypassed all official Union monitoring systems. She had established it years ago as a secure line with Zahn, a Kelthrin diplomat who had become one of her closest friends on the station. The Kelthrin were reptilian beings, tall and graceful, with scales that shifted color based on their emotional state. Zahn's scales were usually a calm blue-green, reflecting his measured temperament and wisdom. But when his image appeared on her screen, Elena gasped. His scales had turned a deep crimson, a color she had only seen once before when he spoke of a terrible tragedy in his people's history. Elena, Zahn's voice was tight with urgency. I am violating my oath to the Union by contacting you, but I cannot stay silent any longer. You must leave this station immediately. Take any humans you can and return to Earth. Warn your people. Elena felt ice flood her veins. Zahn, what are you talking about? What's happening? The Union Council met in secret session 3 days ago. I was not invited, but I have contacts who were present. Elena, they have issued the Extinction Directive against humanity. The words made no sense at first. The Extinction Directive was a theoretical protocol mentioned only in classified Union documents that Elena had seen during security briefings. It was described as an emergency measure, used only when a species posed an existential threat to galactic stability. It had never been invoked in the Union's 8,000-year history. That's impossible, Elena said, but even as the words left her mouth, she felt the truth of it settling like a stone in her stomach. We've done nothing to threaten anyone. We've followed every protocol, shared our technology, contributed to Union defense initiatives. That is precisely the problem, Zahn replied. His scales rippled with agitation. The Council fears how rapidly your species advances. 5 years ago, you had barely achieved faster-than-light travel. Now your scientists are publishing research that challenges theories we have held for millennia. Your artificial intelligence programs show creativity that unsettles the computational collective. Your military, though small by Union standards, demonstrates tactical flexibility that concerns our strategists. Elena's mind raced. So they're afraid we'll become too powerful? That's not a reason for genocide. To them, it is prevention. The Council believes that if humanity continues to develop at your current pace, you will surpass Union technology within 2 generations. They see you as children playing with weapons you do not understand. They have convinced themselves that eliminating your species now is an act of mercy, preventing future conflicts that could tear the galaxy apart. When? Elena asked, her voice cold and hard. Years of military discipline took over, pushing aside the shock and betrayal. There would be time for those emotions later. Right now, she needed information. The attack fleet is already being assembled. They plan to strike Earth and all human colonies simultaneously within the next 72 hours. The Union has spent the last 5 years mapping your defenses, cataloging your weapon systems, identifying your industrial centers. They believe they can complete the extermination in less than a week. Elena's hands moved across her terminal, pulling up star charts and communication protocols. Why are you telling me this, Zahn? You said you're violating your oath. The Keltherin scale shifted to a deep purple, the color of profound sadness among his people. Because I have seen this before. 3,000 years ago, my people were nearly destroyed by the Union when we refused to submit to their authority. We survived only by accepting total subjugation. I have carried that shame my entire life. I will not watch it happen to another species, especially not to people I have come to consider friends. The Union will execute you for treason. I know. But some things are more important than survival. Elena, you must understand something crucial. Everything the Union has shown you about themselves is a carefully constructed lie. They present themselves as peaceful explorers and philosophers, but they are conquerors who have perfected the art of domination through deception. They make species dependent on Union technology, integrate them into Union systems, and then slowly strip away their independence. Your species refused to become dependent. You insisted on maintaining your own military, your own research programs, your own autonomy. That is why they fear you. Elena saved everything Zahn was telling her to an encrypted data core hidden in her quarters. If she died, someone needed to know the truth. What about the other Union species? Do they all support this? Most do not know. The Council revealed the plan only to species leadership, and most accepted it without question. The Union has refined fear into an art form, Elena. Every species in the Union has heard the cautionary tales, the legends of civilizations that grew too powerful and brought ruin to entire sectors. Your people are being cast as the next great threat, and most of the Union believed it because they have been conditioned to believe it. I need to warn Earth, Elena said, already planning her next moves. But they'll be monitoring all official channels. The quantum communicators are under Union control. There is one way, Zahn said. 3 levels below your current location, in storage section Gamma 7, there is an old quantum relay that predates the current communication network. It was decommissioned decades ago but should still function. The Union security systems do not monitor it because officially it does not exist. I can provide you with access codes. Elena committed the information to memory. Zahn, come with me. We can get you to Earth. You'll be safe there. The Keltherin scales flickered between purple and a resigned grey. No, my friend. My place is here. I will do what I can to delay the attack fleet, to create confusion in the command structure. Every hour I buy you is another hour for your people to prepare. Besides, I am old, and I am tired of being complicit in the Union's crimes. Let me end my days with honor. Thank you, Elena said, and she meant it with every fiber of her being. Humanity will remember what you've done. Tell them to remember by surviving. Show the galaxy that the Union's age of unchallenged power is ending. Now go, before they realize you know. The transmission ended, leaving Elena alone with the weight of impossible knowledge. She sat motionless for perhaps 30 seconds, allowing herself that brief moment to feel the full impact of the betrayal. 5 years of friendship, cooperation, and trust had been nothing but an elaborate study of humanity's weaknesses. The Union had welcomed Earth into their alliance specifically to learn how to destroy them most efficiently. Then the moment passed, and Commander Elena Torres became the weapon her training had forged her to be. She moved through her quarters with practiced efficiency, gathering only what was essential. The data core with Zahn's information went into a shielded pouch at her belt. A small plasma cutter, ostensibly for emergency repairs, found its way into her jacket. She deleted all personal files from her terminal and activated a virus that would slowly corrupt the Union's intelligence files on human military capabilities. It would not stop them, but it might create enough uncertainty to make them cautious. The station's corridors were quiet during this sleep cycle. Elena moved like a shadow, avoiding the main routes and using maintenance passages that most diplomats never even knew existed. She had spent 5 years learning every inch of this station, and now that knowledge served a purpose she had never anticipated. Storage Section Gamma 7 was exactly where Zahn said it would be. The access codes worked perfectly. Inside, covered in dust and surrounded by obsolete equipment, sat the quantum relay. It looked ancient by modern standards, all physical switches and manual calibration controls instead of the sleek holographic interfaces current technology favored. But when Elena powered it up, the status indicators glowed green. The machine was old, but it was functional. She configured the relay to punch through to Earth's military command center, using emergency protocols that she prayed were still active. The connection took 3 minutes to establish, 3 agonizing minutes during which Elena expected Union security to burst through the door at any moment. Then a voice crackled through the speaker, professional and alert. "This is Earth Defense Command, authentication required." Elena spoke her identification codes, adding the emergency override that would route this directly to the highest levels of military command. Within seconds, the face of Admiral Sarah Okonkwo appeared on the small display screen. The Admiral looked older than Elena remembered, her hair now completely grey, but her eyes were sharp and focused. "Commander Torres, we were told you were on leave and unavailable for communication. What is the nature of this emergency?" "Admiral, the Galactic Union is preparing to attack Earth and all human colonies. They plan to exterminate our entire species within the next 72 hours. To her credit, Admiral Okonkwo did not waste time with disbelief or demands for proof. "How reliable is your intelligence?" "Confirmed by a Union insider who risked his life to warn us. The attack fleet is already assembling. They've spent 5 years studying our defenses. They believe they can overwhelm us quickly." The Admiral was silent for a moment, and something flickered across her face. It was not fear or shock, but something else entirely. Something that looked almost like grim satisfaction. "Commander Torres, I need you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you. Can this channel be intercepted?" "No, This is an old quantum relay that's off the Union's monitoring grid." "Good. Elena, what I'm about to reveal is classified at the highest possible level. When humanity joined the Galactic Union 5 years ago, we did so with our eyes open. Our intelligence agencies had already identified concerning patterns in how the Union treated other species. We saw the dependency, the subtle control, the way autonomy eroded over time. We also noted that no species had ever successfully left the Union once they joined." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. "You knew this might happen. We knew that if we proved too independent, too innovative, or too strong, the Union would eventually move to eliminate us. So while we presented ourselves as eager students learning from wise teachers, we were actually implementing Protocol Sentinel. Commander, everything the Union has seen of Earth's military capabilities is exactly what we wanted them to see." "I don't understand." Admiral Okonkwo smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "For 5 years, while you and our other diplomats worked to build relationships, Earth's military-industrial complex has been working on something else entirely. The ships the Union has catalogued, the weapons they've analyzed, the defensive installations they've mapped, All of it is obsolete technology that we've kept visible specifically for their intelligence to find. Our real fleet, our actual military capability, has been built in secret locations that Union sensors could never detect. Elena's mind struggled to process what she was hearing. How many ships are we talking about? Enough to make the Union regret their decision to threaten us. Commander, get off that station now. Take any humans you can extract, but do not try to fight your way out if it becomes impossible. We need you alive to provide intelligence on Union command structures. The attack fleet they're sending to Earth is about to discover that humanity learned an important lesson from studying history. What lesson, Admiral? Never mistake kindness for weakness. Never confuse cooperation with submission. And never, ever give an enemy time to study you without studying them in return. The Union thinks they know us. They're about to learn they know nothing at all. The transmission ended, leaving Elena standing in the dusty storage room with her entire understanding of the last 5 years completely inverted. Everything she thought she knew had been a lie, but not the lie she had believed. Earth had not been naive victims slowly walking into a trap. They had been predators pretending to be prey, allowing the Union to grow confident while humanity prepared for the inevitable betrayal. Elena made her decision. She would not try to extract other humans from the station. That would alert Union security and potentially compromise Earth's preparations. Instead, she would stay, continue to play her role as the unsuspecting diplomat, and gather every piece of intelligence she could about the Union's attack plans. If she died when the war began, so be it. She was a soldier, and soldiers understood sacrifice. She shut down the quantum relay and carefully made her way back to her quarters. The station around her continued its normal rhythms, alien diplomats going about their business, completely unaware that the galaxy they knew was about to change forever. 72 hours. In 72 hours, the Union fleet would arrive at Earth expecting to find a species ready for slaughter. Instead, they would find humanity ready for war. And in that moment, the Union would learn what humans had known since they first looked up at the stars. The universe does not care about fairness. It does not reward the peaceful or punish the aggressive. It simply exists, vast and cold and merciless. Species survive not through the mercy of others, but through the strength to defend themselves and the will to do whatever is necessary to ensure their children see another dawn. The Galactic Union had made their choice. Now they would live with the consequences. Or more likely, Elena thought as she lay down in her quarters and closed her eyes, they would die with them. The countdown had begun. Humanity's wrath unleashed. The Union attack began exactly 72 hours after Elena's warning reached Earth, precisely as their intelligence had predicted. Admiral Sarah Okonkwo stood in the command center buried 3 kilometers beneath the Colorado Mountains, watching the tactical displays as enemy vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. The numbers were staggering. 2,000 warships, representing the combined military might of 15 alien civilizations, each vessel larger and more heavily armed than anything humanity had publicly acknowledged possessing. The Mars colonies were hit first. Union energy weapons lanced through the thin Martian atmosphere, striking the domed cities with calculated precision. The shields that protected the human settlements flickered and died under the sustained bombardment. Atmosphere vented into space as structural supports failed. The orbital stations that facilitated mining operations and scientific research exploded in brilliant flashes that briefly outshone the distant sun. Communication channels filled with desperate calls for help, panicked voices reporting casualties and requesting immediate evacuation. The lunar military base launched its defensive fighters, sleek craft that humanity had spent decades perfecting. They met the advancing Union fleet with missiles and energy weapons, fighting with courage that would have made any military commander proud. For 12 minutes, the human pilots held their ground, destroying 3 enemy cruisers and damaging a dozen more. Then the Union's numerical superiority became overwhelming. One by one, the human fighters were eliminated. The lunar base itself came under direct assault, its defensive batteries firing until the moment Union warheads cracked the facility open and left it a tomb for the 3,000 personnel who had served there. From orbit, it looked like humanity was being systematically destroyed. The Union fleet advanced with mechanical precision, each species' ships performing their designated role in the extermination. The insectoid vexery deployed swarms of small attack craft that moved like schools of predatory fish. The crystalline vessels of the Thorny focused devastating energy beams that could slice through reinforced metal like paper. The Keltherin dreadnoughts, massive and heavily armored, served as mobile command platforms coordinating the assault. In the command center on Earth, Admiral Okonkwo watched the destruction of humanity's outer defenses with an expression of absolute calm. Around her, military personnel monitored screens showing tactical data, casualty reports, and the advancing enemy fleet. To an outside observer, the scene would have appeared desperate, the last moments of a species facing annihilation. But everyone in that room knew something the Union did not. "Admiral," called out Commander Marcus Webb from his station. "Union fleet has breached the inner system. They're moving into attack formation around Earth. Estimate contact in 17 minutes. Orbital defense platforms." Okonkwo asked. "Responding as programmed. They're putting up resistance but taking heavy damage. Current projections show complete platform failure in 9 minutes." Okonkwo nodded. The platforms were performing exactly as intended, making the Union believe they were facing humanity's last line of defense. In reality, those platforms were obsolete technology, manned by AI systems sophisticated enough to mimic human communication patterns. Not a single human life was being lost in their destruction. "Time to activate Protocol Sentinel," Webb asked. The Admiral checked the tactical display one more time. The Union fleet had committed fully now. Every ship they had brought to the Sol system was inside the perimeter humanity had carefully calculated. They were positioned exactly where Earth's military planners had hoped they would be, confident in their overwhelming superiority, certain that victory was moments away. "Activate Protocol Sentinel," Okonkwo said quietly. "Show them what humanity really is." Webb entered the authorization codes, and across the solar system, everything changed. The asteroids belt between Mars and Jupiter had always been a place of scientific interest, chunks of rock left over from the solar system's formation. Union sensors had catalogued thousands of them during their 5 years of observation, noting which ones showed signs of human mining activity and which appeared untouched. What their sensors had not detected were the sophisticated holographic projectors and stealth fields that humanity had developed using principles the Union had never imagined possible. 300 asteroids that had appeared completely natural suddenly revealed their true nature. Their rocky exteriors were camouflage, elaborate shells concealing military facilities that had been built over the course of 5 years. Massive hangar doors opened in the vacuum, and from each concealed base, warships began to emerge. These were not the vessels the Union had catalogued in their intelligence reports. These ships were larger, sleeker, and built with technology that combined human innovation with principles reverse-engineered from Union systems and then advanced far beyond their original capabilities. Each vessel was coated in metamaterials that could adapt to different energy frequencies, making them nearly invisible to conventional sensors. Their hulls were constructed from carbon nanotube composites strong enough to withstand impacts that would destroy conventional armor. But the asteroids were only the beginning. In Earth's oceans, at depths where Union sensors could not penetrate, more facilities revealed themselves. The Mariana Trench had always been Earth's deepest point, a place of crushing pressure and absolute darkness. It was also perfect for concealing military construction. Camouflaged installations rose from the ocean floor, breaking the surface and launching vessels that had been built in secret underwater shipyards. Admiral James Chen stood on the bridge of the UESS Defiance, humanity's first true capital ship. The vessel was 5 kilometers long, bristling with weapons that Union scientists would have declared impossible. Chen was a veteran of Earth's old naval forces, a man who had spent 40 years preparing for a war he had hoped would never come. Now that war was here, and he felt a cold satisfaction settling into his bones. "All ships report ready status, Admiral," reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Sarah Kim. "Fleet Command is transmitting targeting data now." Chen watched as his tactical display updated with the positions of every Union vessel in the solar system. Earth's sensor network was far more sophisticated than the Union realized, utilizing quantum entanglement principles that allowed for instantaneous data transmission with zero possibility of interception. Every enemy ship was tracked, its capabilities analyzed, its weaknesses identified. Weapons free, Chen said. Execute attack pattern Omega. Let's show them what real military doctrine looks like. The human fleet that emerged from hiding numbered over 3,000 vessels, appearing so suddenly that Union commanders initially thought their sensors were malfunctioning. But this was no malfunction. This was humanity revealing that they had been preparing for this exact scenario since the moment they joined the Galactic Union. The first Union ships to die were the Vexori swarm carriers. The insectoid species relied on overwhelming numbers, launching thousands of small attack craft that could converge on targets from multiple angles. It was a tactic that had served them well for centuries. But humanity had studied the Vexori carefully and developed a specific countermeasure. Human destroyers unleashed clouds of what appeared to be simple electronic chaff. The Vexori ignored them, focusing on their attack runs against what they believed were vulnerable human vessels. Then the chaff activated, and each tiny metallic particle became a miniature explosive drone guided by AI systems of terrifying sophistication. The drone sought out Vexori attack craft with relentless precision, detonating on contact and triggering chain reactions that consumed entire swarms. Within 3 minutes, the Vexori had lost 70% of their attack craft. The survivors retreated in confusion, their carefully coordinated assault patterns dissolving into chaos. The Vexori carriers tried to launch additional swarms, but human railgun fire punched through their hulls with contemptuous ease, detonating the remaining attack craft before they could deploy. The thorny crystalline vessels fared no better. Their energy weapons were powerful, capable of sustained fire that could eventually overwhelm any defense. But their ships were built from a unique crystalline material that, while incredibly strong, had a specific vulnerability that human scientists had identified and exploited. Human ships fired sonic resonance weapons, devices that generated sound waves at frequencies impossible in the vacuum of space but transmitted through specialized particle beams. When the resonance waves struck thorny vessels, they induced vibrations in the crystalline structure at precisely the frequency needed to cause catastrophic failure. The beautiful, gleaming ships that had terrified countless species began to shatter like glass. Some broke apart completely, spilling their crews into space. Others developed fatal cracks that spread through their hulls, causing explosive decompression that killed everyone aboard. Admiral Chen watched the destruction with professional detachment. He felt no joy in the killing, but neither did he feel guilt. The Union had come to Earth intending genocide. They had planned to murder every human man, woman, and child in the name of preventing a threat that existed only in their paranoid imaginations. Now they were learning that real threats did not announce themselves with warnings or give their enemies time to prepare. Status on the Keltherin dreadnoughts? Chen asked. Maintaining position at maximum range, sir, Kim reported. They're not advancing. I think they're trying to analyze our capabilities before committing. Chen smiled grimly. The Keltherin were the Union's military leaders, the species that had perfected the art of warfare over thousands of years. They were cautious, methodical, and extremely difficult to defeat through conventional means. Their dreadnoughts were mobile fortresses, protected by overlapping shield systems and bristling with enough firepower to level planets. But humanity had prepared something special for the Keltherin. Deploy the Prometheus missiles, Chen ordered. From launch bays concealed throughout the human fleet, missiles streaked toward the Keltherin dreadnoughts. These were not conventional weapons. Each Prometheus missile contained an artificial intelligence system that had been trained using quantum computing techniques the Union had not yet discovered. The AIS could analyze enemy defenses in real time, adapting their approach vectors and attack patterns faster than any organic mind could react. The Keltherin point defense systems engaged immediately, destroying dozens of incoming missiles. But for every missile destroyed, 3 more adjusted their courses to exploit the gaps in the defensive fire. The AIS communicated with each other through quantum entanglement, coordinating their attack with a precision that seemed almost precognitive. The first Prometheus missile penetrated the shields of a Keltherin dreadnought by matching its phase variance exactly, slipping through the barrier like it did not exist. The warhead detonated inside the ship's primary reactor, triggering a cascade failure that consumed the entire vessel in a miniature supernova. 5 more dreadnoughts died in the next 30 seconds, their confident commanders given no time to adapt to weapons that rewrote their own code with every passing moment. Throughout the solar system, the pattern repeated. Each Union species encountered weapons specifically designed to counter their particular strengths and exploit their specific weaknesses. The energy-based Lumini found themselves trapped in containment fields that suppressed their ability to phase between states. The computational collective's machine vessels discovered that humanity had developed computer viruses so sophisticated they could infect and subvert alien AI systems in seconds. The battle that the Union had expected to last less than an hour turned into a massacre that stretched across 3 hours. And with each passing minute, it became increasingly clear that the hunters had become the prey. On the Celestial Harmony station, Commander Elena Torres watched the reports coming in with a mixture of horror and vindication. She had maintained her cover, continuing to play the role of the unsuspecting diplomat even as the Union prepared for their attack. Now, as news of the catastrophic defeat reached the station, she saw the carefully constructed facade of Union superiority crumbling in real time. Alien diplomats who had always treated her with condescending patience now looked at her with fear. The species that had congratulated themselves on their wise decision to eliminate humanity before they became too powerful were confronting the reality that humanity had already been powerful enough to destroy them. They had simply chosen not to reveal it until the moment of maximum advantage. Zahn found her in the observation deck, his scales showing colors Elena had never seen before, a swirling pattern of purple, gray, and deep blue that indicated profound emotional turmoil. "Your people are annihilating the Union fleet," he said quietly. "The last reports showed only 300 ships remaining out of 2,000. They are attempting to retreat, but your vessels are hunting them down." "They came here to commit genocide," Elena replied, her voice hard. "Did they expect us to show them mercy they refused to grant us?" "No," Zahn admitted. "But I had hoped that humanity might be different. That you might prove there was another way." Elena turned to face her friend, and her expression softened slightly. "Zahn, you saved my species. You risked everything to give us warning. But you need to understand something fundamental about humans. We do not start fights. We tried for 5 years to be peaceful members of the Union. We shared our knowledge, contributed to collective security, followed every rule and protocol. The Union chose to respond to our cooperation with extermination. That was their choice, not ours." "And now?" Zahn asked. "What happens now? Will humanity take the Union's place, ruling through fear and subjugation?" "No," Elena said firmly. "But we will make sure the galaxy understands that we are not prey. We are not a species to be managed or eliminated when we become inconvenient. We are humans, and we will survive by making the cost of threatening us too high for anyone to pay." Back in the Sol system, the battle was entering its final phase. The 300 surviving Union ships had formed a defensive cluster, their commanders desperately trying to coordinate a retreat. But human vessels surrounded them on all sides, cutting off every escape route. Admiral Chen opened a communication channel that broadcast to every surviving enemy ship. "This is Admiral James Chen of the United Earth Space Command. You came to our system with the intention of exterminating my species. You believed we were weak, primitive, unworthy of survival. You were wrong. We are giving you one chance, and only one. Surrender your vessels immediately, or we will destroy every single ship and every single life in your fleet. You have 60 seconds to decide." The Union commanders conferred frantically. Some argued for fighting to the last ship, maintaining the honor of their species. Others, more pragmatic, recognized that honor meant nothing to the dead. 40 seconds into the deadline, the first ship powered down its weapons and shields. Within the remaining 20 seconds, every other vessel followed suit. "All enemy ships have surrendered, Admiral," Kim reported. Chen nodded slowly. "Deploy boarding parties. I want every piece of Union intelligence data, every tactical plan, every piece of technology they brought to this system. And I want the commanding officers of every species brought to Earth. They're going to stand trial for attempted genocide. As human marines boarded the captured vessels, Admiral Okonkwo opened a communication channel from Earth to the Celestial Harmony Station. Her face appeared on displays throughout the alien facility, addressing not just the diplomats but every member of every species that called the station home. I am Admiral Sarah Okonkwo, Supreme Commander of United Earth Forces. 72 hours ago, the Galactic Union launched an unprovoked attack on humanity with the stated intention of exterminating our entire species. That attack has failed. The Union fleet has been destroyed or captured. But make no mistake about what has happened here today. This was not a battle. This was not even a war. This was a demonstration. The Admiral paused, letting her words sink in across thousands of light years. For 5 years, humanity cooperated with the Union in good faith. We shared our knowledge, contributed to collective security, and worked to build genuine relationships with alien species. The Union responded by planning our genocide. They believed we were weak because we chose cooperation over confrontation. They believed we were primitive because we did not parade our military might. They were wrong on every count. Images began appearing beside Okonkwo's face, showing the human fleet in all its terrible glory. Ships that dwarfed anything the Union had possessed. Weapons that defied their understanding of physics. Industrial capacity that had remained hidden until the moment it was needed most. The military force you see here represents less than 40% of Earth's total defensive capability, Okonkwo continued, and that statement sent waves of shock through the alien observers. We built this fleet in secret while appearing to be defenseless students learning from wise teachers. We did this because we studied your history. We saw how you treated species that showed weakness. We saw the dependency you cultivated, the autonomy you eroded, the control you exercised. We chose to appear weak while becoming strong. Elena watched the faces of the alien diplomats around her. Some showed fear. Others showed anger. A few showed something that might have been respect. The Galactic Union as you knew it is finished, Okonkwo declared. Humanity will not take its place as a new tyranny. But we will also not permit the old order to reconstitute itself. Over the next months, our diplomatic corps will be reaching out to individual species to establish bilateral relationships based on genuine mutual respect. We will share technology and knowledge with those who prove themselves trustworthy. We will defend those who cannot defend themselves. And we will ruthlessly destroy anyone who threatens us or our allies. The transmission ended, and the station fell into stunned silence. Elena found herself surrounded by alien diplomats who looked at her with new understanding. She was not just Commander Torres, the friendly human liaison. She represented a species that had just rewritten the galactic balance of power in a single afternoon. In the days that followed, the full scope of humanity's preparations became clear. The secret shipyards in the asteroid belt had been building vessels for 5 years. The underwater facilities had been testing weapons in an environment Union sensors could not penetrate. Human scientists had been reverse engineering and improving Union technology faster than the aliens had believed possible. And through it all, Earth's diplomats had maintained perfect cover, appearing just curious enough to be believable but never revealing the sophisticated intelligence-gathering operation they were conducting. The captured Union commanders were brought to Earth and placed on trial in an international court that humanity established specifically for this purpose. The proceedings were broadcast throughout the galaxy, showing alien leaders being held accountable for their attempted genocide. Some accepted responsibility with dignity. Others tried to justify their actions with claims of preventive self-defense. The court found them all guilty and sentenced them to life imprisonment under conditions that met every standard of humane treatment, a mercy the Union had not planned to grant humanity. But the trial served a greater purpose than justice. They demonstrated to every species in the galaxy that humanity would not tolerate tyranny, but neither would they become tyrants themselves. The galaxy was watching, and humanity was establishing the principles that would govern their interactions with alien civilizations going forward. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiance as the ship prepared to lead the first human exploration fleet beyond the boundaries of known Union space. His mission was to make contact with species the Union had never encountered, to establish relationships based on honesty rather than deception, strength rather than exploitation. "Admiral," Kim said from her station. "We're ready to jump to faster than light. Destination is the Andromeda Cluster, estimated arrival in 3 weeks." Chen looked out at the stars, thinking about everything that had changed. Humanity had been forced to reveal themselves earlier than planned, but perhaps that was for the best. The galaxy now knew what humans were capable of, but more importantly, they knew what humans stood for. They had seen humanity's capacity for violence, but also their commitment to justice and restraint. "Take us out, Lieutenant," Chen said. "Let's go see what else is out there. And let's make sure that any species we meet understands from the beginning that humans make better friends than enemies." The Defiance's engines flared with light that bent space-time itself, and the massive vessel disappeared into faster-than-light travel. Behind them, Earth and the inner solar system began the long process of rebuilding what the Union attack had damaged. But this time, they built in the open, no longer hiding their capabilities or pretending to be less than they were. Commander Elena Torres eventually returned to Earth, her mission on the Celestial Harmony Station complete. She met with Admiral Okonkwo in the same command center where Protocol Sentinel had been activated, and the two women looked at displays showing humanity's expanding presence in the galaxy. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Elena asked. The death toll was enormous. Hundreds of thousands of Union personnel died in that battle. Okonkwo was silent for a long moment before responding. "They came here intending to kill 8 billion humans. Every man, woman, and child on Earth, every colonist on Mars, every person in our outer settlements. They planned to erase us from existence because they feared what we might become. I mourn every life lost, Elena. But I will not apologize for ensuring our survival." "What do you think happens now?" Elena asked. "Will other species try what the Union failed to accomplish?" The Admiral smiled, and it was the expression of someone who had thought deeply about this question. "Some might try. But they saw what happened when the Union attacked us. They saw our hidden strength, our technological capability, and our willingness to use overwhelming force to protect our species. More importantly, they saw that we stopped when the threat was eliminated. We didn't pursue vengeance beyond necessity. We didn't become conquerors. I think most species will decide that cooperation with humanity is far more profitable than conflict." Elena nodded slowly. "So we continue as we began. Seeking friendship but prepared for war." "Exactly. That's the only way to survive in a galaxy that's more dangerous than we ever imagined. We extend our hand in friendship, but we keep our other hand on our weapons. We trust, but we verify. We cooperate, but we remain vigilant. That's the lesson the Union taught us, even if they didn't intend to." In the years that followed, humanity expanded its presence throughout the galaxy. They established trade relationships with dozens of species, shared technology with those who earned their trust, and defended smaller civilizations from predatory neighbors. The human fleet grew larger and more sophisticated, but it was accompanied by diplomatic corps that worked to prevent conflicts before they began. The Galactic Union reformed itself into a looser confederation of independent species, abandoning the centralized control that had led to corruption and tyranny. The new organization, which humans helped design, focused on facilitating cooperation rather than enforcing compliance. Species that had lived under Union domination for millennia discovered what it meant to be truly sovereign. And throughout it all, humanity remained vigilant. They never forgot the lesson learned when the Union attacked Earth. They never forgot that kindness could be mistaken for weakness, that cooperation could be seen as submission, that trust had to be earned and verified. They built their civilization on the principle that peace was precious but not free, that it had to be defended by those willing to do whatever was necessary to protect it. The galaxy learned to respect humanity not because humans were the strongest or the most advanced, but because they were the species that could be both diplomat and warrior, teacher and soldier, friend and destroyer. They were the species that had been betrayed and had chosen to respond with overwhelming force followed by immediate restraint. They were the species that proved you could be kind without being weak, cooperative without being submissive, peaceful without being pacifist. They were humanity. And the galaxy would never forget.